Hoi there! It's about time we put an end to this, don't you think? We've made a body from a cube, rigged it, gave it some expressions, and uploaded it to Vrchat. These last few weeks I've dedicated to clothing them and checking everything over for clipping and or bugs. I'm very, very happy to announce our avatar is done! Yay! But not for VTuber stribbling just yet. There are many different VTuber apps that you can use for 3D models that also happen to be free. The most popular one I've heard about is VSeeFace. Everyone and their grandmother seems to be using it. I'm not an expert at it, so take what I have to offer on that topic with a grain of salt. My main program right now is VUP, as in VUP, because I like the extra face tracking elements that it has, and it's a lot more subtle than VSeeFace's tracking. Everyone has their preferences though. You can get VUP on Steam and VSeeFace from the VSeeFace website. I'll link everything you need down below. When you export a model from Blender, it doesn't export as VRM, so you have to convert it. And to do that, we'll need Unity, which you should already have. Please have the Unity Hub installed, and also the UniVRM extension package situation. You can find it very easily, just go into Google, type in UniVRM and go to the first link. It'll take you to this GitHub page over here. If we just keep scrolling down, we can have some information on the installation, which we can go using this link here. You can open that in the new tab if you really want to, and we'll get the latest version. Now you do need to know what version it supports, and it seems here it supports Unity 2020.3 LTS or later. So you can be safe and just install the 2020, or you can mess around with the most recent version of Unity. This last updated December the 6th, so I wouldn't really use a version of Unity that came out after December the 6th if I were you. So you can just scroll down further and you'll get to this assets area and you can install the Unity package over here. So I'll just download that now. And now go ahead and grab your Unity Hub, and you want to make sure you have 2020.3 or later. Gladly I already have that. If you don't have it, you'll have to add it over here. So I'm going to actually make a new file using this. We'll go to projects, and then using this drop down menu here, we'll go to the most recent one, 2020.3.1. Of course, you can just use the LTS version. And make sure it's saved in an appropriate folder. I'm going to save it where I saved all my other tutorial chan stuff, which is over here. So I'm going to save it in its whole new folder, and we'll just call this Tutorial Chan VRM, or whatever is appropriate to you. So just hit create and let it happen. Right, now everything's open. It's a little bit messy, but it'll have to do for now. So just go to your folders wherever you downloaded the VRM to. You want to grab this, it's a Unity package, and with these you just drag them and drop them, just like you did with your Poyomi shader, if you used that one. And we're just going to make sure all is selected and hit import. There's a little window that says recommended project settings. Honestly, I would just accept it. I would choose the recommended. Now you'll see a bunch of new folders pop up. It's great, you'll need that for the shaders. And you'll have your assets and scenes folder. And this thing up here that we'll be using. Now, because you created a Vrchat avatar, you'll have a lot of things that are already sort of ready. So let's just make a new folder in our assets, which is over here. We'll just do create, right click first, and then create, and then folder, and we'll call this tutorial chan. We'll go into this folder and we'll create a folder, and we'll call this scenes, and we'll save this scene as, go into here, go into scenes, we'll save it as tutorial chan. Also, her name is Aomi now, by the way, so let's actually just name it to Aomi. and hit save. You'll need her textures, you'll need her FBX, and that will be very easy to grab from the Vrchat folder. So let's just go to our Vrchat project, which is right over here. We'll go to assets and VRC avatars, and we'll go into here, which has a lot of things that we need. We don't need the animations, we're going to make some new materials, so we don't need that. And we don't need the scenes, but we do need the textures, and we do need the FBX. So we can actually just drag and drop that over here. We can go into the textures. So we need the dress, we need the hoodie, let's just do both versions. We need the head texture, the hair texture. Technically don't need the masks because they were for different color changes. So just drag and drop that. Actually, let's make a folder first. Create folder textures. Go into the textures folder, and we'll drag and drop these into the textures. We need to go back, click on our model, and we want to go down and make sure legacy blend shape normals is true and hit apply. This is pretty much almost exactly the same as the Vrchat setup. So go to your materials, and we'll use external, apply, and it will create a materials folder. Go to the rig. We want it to be humanoid, hit apply, and configure. Just going to do the same thing that we did in Vrchat. Make sure all of these are correct. Get rid of the nose from the draw area. Just double click on none. And left hand and right hand should be fine. Make sure to click apply down here. And you can go to muscles and settings if you really want to, but by now your model should be fixed, so you shouldn't really have to mess with this. And we'll just hit done. Now let's sort out our materials. So things are a little easier to see. We'll sort out materials with a Tutorial-chan in the scene. So let's grab her and drop her into the scene. Be able to see a bit closer. Now let's get her materials right. Because we're going to be exporting this as a VRM, we're going to start with the VRM materials. There is the option to export with custom shaders, but that's for a completely different format called .vsf, and that's strictly for VSeeFace. This is a very general one. So you can either grab materials from this area here, or just go straight into the materials folder and edit from here. So we'll put all of these to VRM and mtune. So for the outline, we'll actually do UniGLTF, since that also works with VRM. And that should just be a singular colour. But let's go in and fill in all the textures that need to be here. I'm going to actually lock this for a moment as we go into the textures. And this will be for the body. So just grab that, drop it into here. For the outline, I'm just going to colour select about here. Right, now what usually happens is there's a very obvious difference in the colour for the shadows and the light areas, but I'm not seeing that here. Okay, it looks like it's a little different than how it was before. Since this is the case, make sure all of your colours are set to white, because the default is not white. If you do want to add a shadow colour, you're more than welcome to add another texture and then offset this by a little bit if you really want to. Anyway, set up your colour texture however you want to. Alright, now that you have your colours, make sure your setup is half decent. So the emotes, for example, you'll want them to have transparency. So let's try first transparent with Z white, and if you're not sure how that looks, just go to the body, go to blend shapes and turn some of them on. This one doesn't look bad at all, so I think I'll be using that. Let's go to the dress make sure cutout is on. So there's all the transparent parts. There's some cutout that needs to happen on the face, so we'll do that too, and on the hair. And the hair, let's see how transparency looks. It does look a little bad. Let's see what this looks like. And this looks good to me. And everything else seems to be fine as far as textures and shaders go. Actually, the skirt needs to have some back face. Go to materials, go to the dress. Back off should look better. The only thing left to do as far as shaders go is add outlines if you want them. So I'm going to add some, just make sure you hit world coordinates. Now, depending on the program you use, you might be able to very easily turn on blend shapes. If you cannot very easily turn on blend shapes, then you're going to have to export a different version of the FBX and just reuse these materials. So the main important thing as of right now is it'll be very easy to export a version without a hood because you can just turn it off right here. So I'm going to just pick one version of the model for now, and the only thing you want to leave alone is these things, because you can change it later on. What you do want to mess with is anything that you've used to stop clipping, for example. I'm going to upload a version of the model that doesn't have this hood and that does have this hood. As in the larger hood, I mean. Alright, now that we're in Blender, it's very important you save a copy of this file right away because we're going to do some permanent edits. File, save as. I'm going to save this as tutorial-chan VRM edit. And now I need to make some things permanent. So we'll turn on the socks no clip. Put that to 1. We'll turn on the, so you can see what's happening. We'll turn on the hood no clip. We'll turn on the dress no clip. And we'll leave this alone. We also want to go to the dress. And we want to turn this on. And as far as clipping goes, I think this is all the important things. Let's go to edit mode. Go to the material that you just edited. Select all of it with A, and then Control V and propagate to shapes. It will just apply this to all the shape keys, including the bases. Let's go to object mode and let's turn that off. And it won't do anything anymore. Right, let's go to the body. Alright, we'll need to go to all of these, and because there's no shape keys on the body, we'll be fine to do this. So make sure you to select this arrow down here, shape key specials, new shape from mix. And let's just hit X and put this one to 1. We'll go to edit mode. Now this should have all the shape keys that we just put. Just double tap A. And we'll be able to select this with L. Make sure it's only the body that you selected, not the hoodie or anything like that. Control V and propagate to shapes. If we go to object mode now, this shouldn't do anything. And if we go to edit mode and check all these shape keys, these will all have the same, well, you know, except for the hoodie moving. These should all be the same. Even the bases. Great. This does mean that if you take the hoodie off, it'll look like this, which you don't want. So this is the version that we want to export as an FBX. So let's just hit A, just to be safe, apply all transformations, and let's save as well. We're going to export this as an FBX straight into the Unity file that we just created. So File, Export, FBX. Now I'm actually going to change this, I'm actually going to name this as tutorial-chan 2 FBX, since the first one was just tutorial-chan FBX. Right, the great thing about this is because they have the same material names, you won't need to make a new material for it. So if we go to materials and just hit external materials and hit apply, it should automatically pick them all up. There we go. We want the rig to be humanoid. And the model, make sure you have legacy blend shape normals on. And let's sort out the rig. Should only take a second. Right, now let's just drag and drop our second model into the scene. So we have this one and the second one. We're going to be messing with the second one. Now let's create a folder. We're going to call it your character's name and then VRM. We're going to save the VRM model into that folder in particular. So let's start with a few things. Go to VRM 0 and freeze T-pose. It has to be in a T-pose for VRM. And we'll also go to VRM 0 and export to VRM.0. There's a huge file here that you have to fill out. And then make sure to export it directly into the folder that you just made. Now let's just hide these models that we have on here that we don't need. And let's drag our model, our new VRM model, over into our scene. It should be this one over here. Right. Now there's a few things that's slightly different. First, you want to put the first person offset where it needs to be. Let's zoom in, it's about here maybe slightly inwards. This is where the eyes are. If your head's a normal size, feel free to put it right at the front of the head. This is more for a VR thing. Go to the VRM folder and we want to find the blend shapes folder. Should be over here. There's a file called blend shape. Now if we make this larger, you can see what's happening. These have nothing on, which is not ideal. You do want something on them. So let's do our look up, look down, etc. Click on the one that you need, go to your body and put on everything that's here. So this will be pupils up. Now for the actual words, it's not very complicated. We just need an O. So I usually use OH. We need an E, which is right here, very easy. U. I usually use OU for U. An I usually use I for I. And an A is quite straightforward. Neutral is neutral. Right, so everything is down here and there seems to be no issues. Gladly. The only thing left to do now is the rig. You'll have to go over to your avatar, make sure your drop down menu is here, and you'll have to go to secondary. Now it gives you one already, there's nothing on here, so let's begin with the tail. So go to armature, just grab the tail from the hips, and you want to put it on root bone. It'll be like this here. These little circles will be what might interact with a collider, for example. If we hit play, we can start messing with this. Make sure just to not be in the game menu, be in the scene menu. And you can't actually mess with it from here, you need to mess with it from the hips, for example. You'll see how this moves. Now if you like it, you leave it alone. If you don't, you change it. For me, this looks a bit heavy. And it also doesn't have gravity. So you can give it gravity by doing gravity power. We can have it to 2. And like Vrchat though, it doesn't have a fall off. So keep that in mind when you're messing with the gravity. I'm going to lower the stiffness force so it's more smooth. And the drag force, I think probably also going to lower. The drag force is kind of like the air slowing it down. So when you're done, you can just go ahead and copy the component, get out of play mode using the play button, and then pasting the values. Paste component values over here. Now you can keep going doing that for the rest of the body that you want to have movement, for example. Add component, spring, VRM spring bone, add component, VRM spring bone. Sometimes, unfortunately, because of how the way this is set up, it won't always rig evenly. What that means is you're going to have to go into your root bones and just put every single skirt bone on one thing. So let me just show you how to do that. Currently I had the left, the right and the skirt separately, so I'm just going to delete the left and the right. I'm going to remove component and remove this component too. The good thing about this is you can have multiple on one. So let's just go right into the skirt root, and then instead of putting that straight into there, we'll go and grab the individual ones and then just put them in. So BL and then BR, just drop it straight onto the root bone name, and then this one and this one, BR. Then you're also going to go into the left and right roots. Right, now if you hit play, hopefully, and just go into the scene mode, hopefully it should move a bit more evenly. You know, since we're here, let's add the ears on the hoodie. This is going to have two colliders, but first I'm going to not do this. Let's go to the leg. You want to actually create an empty, and we want this to be called the left leg, so I'm going to say LL collider, COL. It doesn't have to be called that, but call it something. Then we'll go to VRM spring bone collider group. So we'll also drop this menu down, and we'll also drop this menu down, and this one is slightly weirdly set up, but it's fine. Let's turn the radius down. Let's see how 0.5 looks, and I can't see it anymore. 0.5. 0.05. Now you need to be careful about how it interacts with the skirt, because if it's too large, the skirt colliders will start too soon. Okay, and we'll add another one. So we'll go up here, hit 2, and it should hopefully copy the values above, but we want to offset in the Y now. Now we can just copy this component and we'll make a right leg one. So go to your right leg, create empty, going to name this RL col. Right, like collider. Add component. Spring bone collider group. And let's just paste right in here. Now, it's going to be slightly off because of the X values. So typically you can just minus them. And it should be fine. Everything else should be good though. So it has the right and left collider groups for the legs. And you could go all the way down, but I think this is fine. So let's go back to secondary. And let's go to the skirt, which is over here. And the collider groups, which is here, we'll put this one in and this one in. So now these should collide with that. Turn on the skirt, or the dress, turn that on. Now anything that is already touching the ball will be pushed away. You can just hit play if you want to see if anything moves. Or better yet, let's move the games down here. Okay, let's grab the hips, see how it's doing with the collider. Now let's do some things for the hair. We'll do UniVRM 0 and we'll export it again. Export to VRM 0.x. And this all should be more or less the same. You can put version 2 if you want, but let's just say export. I'm going to export it to this folder, Vrchat and VTubing. I'm going to create a new folder and just call it VRMs. I'm gonna type W and then hood, as in with hood. Go to my software, add model. Now for VRP, you do need to, well, first download it, and then secondly, make sure to add all the relevant expressions. You'll have a set of expressions here that you'll need to fill in, and they'll show up over here so you can see which one's right and which one's not so much. So let's just keep filling these in. You'll see over here, it will show you. Looks like I made a mild mistake that I'll have to fix. I don't have L pupil up or L pupil down, and same with R pupil up or R pupil down. I guess they'll just have to share. So we'll just do pupils up for this one, and then pupils down. I'll need to remember to add that to the final model. Gladly with VRP, you can export or import configs, which means instead of doing all of these manually, you can just import one that's already made. So you see, as of right now, the hood, the main hood is up, and the lower, the down hood is up as well. So with VRP specifically, you can go into the character and then go to emoji, and you can make all sorts of emotes in VRP. So if I just put this one on, you'll see that it looks a bit more natural now. So currently she's uploaded to VRP and working just fine. The green screen is kind of working against us here with the hair color. If you want this VTuber file, it will be included in the booth zip file I'll be selling. And you know, patrons get spoiled too. Hey mortals, you can count on me. Cheers love, the cavalry's here. Before we get too carried away, let's see how to download VSeeFace. First, of course, you need to type into Google VSeeFace. And this website will come up, vseeface.icu. Now you can go straight to download, and you can hit this button right here, which should hopefully give you the most recent version. So when you've extracted the zip, you'll have a folder called VSeeFace, and you'll have something that looks like this. You can just go straight to the application here, double click, click Add Avatar, and you'll need to go to the VRMs folder that you made. You can open it, you can click that avatar, choose the microphone that you're using, and hit start. You can go down here and add new expressions. Okay, so it's a little confusing at first, but basically you upload your avatar in here. If you want to use the numpad, you can, like, you know, numpad expressions. You can go into here and start recording for a face. An angry face would be very straightforward. So you click the angry button, you make an angry face, you talk and look around, and when you're done, you stop recording. And then you can also make a sad face, for example, since we already have one. So let's record for sad show. You keep talking when you're making a sad face. I say just make it very exaggerated, otherwise you're going to be triggering it when you don't want to. Afterwards you hit calibrate, and then you should be able to make faces with those parameters. You can go into your settings, let's say light settings, and you can mess around with stuff. If you want to learn more about VSeeFace, here is not the place. I think it's finally time to move on from this. Thanks for watching. This series is brought to you by my patrons, with special thanks to my grey clouds and grey skies, Eel Hee Haw, Silent K, Celias Mousehold, David LeBlanc, Soat, and Spud the Cat. Farewell!